I believe there's a subtle desire within us all to want to create, to be a part of something, be it big or small, to know that you have contributed to the fabric of society, knowing that a piece of you, a piece of your soul, will remain long after you're gone. This intrinsic desire to be remembered, if not for who you are, then for what you made, that is the drive, the force behind my creative freedom. Knowing that in some way my chosen art will leave an impression on the world, or at least on you. The connection between my desire to create a legacy and the legacy that Disney has created is not a far stretch. There's a link between what has already been created and the inspiration that it gives. So, for this project, this is the path that I have chosen to take Briar Rose and reimagine her in my style, with my vision. For this project specifically, I'm not changing the design. I'm taking what I see each individual piece as and making it that way. So, yes, this means that her blouse will be a button up because what am I without a button up shirt? There's a time to stick with what you know, and there's a time to change things up. This project is both at the same time, and yet not. I knew that I wanted it to be simple, a fluff project, but at the same time a challenge. It's totally a contradiction, I know. Just bear with me. A couple of things I'm experimenting is like simplifying my collar pattern and making the stand and the collar all in one piece, and so you can kind of see that I've basted right here just to give like a defined line or something to help the collar fold where it needs to fold, because previously I would have had a seam. So this basting stitch is just taking the place of that seam. We'll see how it works. I am trying like a bunch of different things with this shirt, mostly as I'm like trying to create patterns to sell. I'm just wondering like how can I simplify my process to make easier patterns to follow and things like that. So that's kind of what I'm experimenting with this shirt, and it's interesting. Oh, this footage is probably so shaky. I should have put you on a tripod. Picking your battles is 90% of the project. And it's how eventually you know, get your victory conditions and do something productive. Or not. Again, we're full of contradictions today. This project was fun because it was mostly familiar. Familiar patterns, familiar techniques. I did a few new things on the shirt that I've already talked about, but it's like the 10th button up I've made on this channel, so realistically, it's not new. Nothing that needed serious thought or workarounds. I was able to turn on a movie and all but mindlessly go through the motions. Did I get excited and just start working? Yes, but I want to be in this frame too. But I feel like I've made enough shirts on my channel that like, you know how I make them. Like it's a button up. It's not anything that I haven't made before. So I feel justified in not filming every single step. Granted, the skirt we're gonna make with this, I've also filmed before. There's something to be said for using familiar patterns though. But anyway, I am trying new things with this. Specifically the way that I did the placket is new. The way that I'm doing the collar is new. Like I said earlier, I'm trying to figure out how to like simplify my patterns so that way they can be more easily used, more accessible. I don't know what that term is, but I'm trying to do that. Did we talk about this yesterday? I feel like we talked about this yesterday, so I'm just gonna move on. Cuffs, hem, side seams, buttons and buttonholes. 5 steps, and then the shirt's done. Hoping to get it done today so that way I can start on the skirt. I done some research into her corsety thing, and that's intimidating. Anyway, I'm gonna set you guys up on a time-lapse mode because I kind of just want to like turn on some tunes and get focused. So I'll figure out where to put you and we will do the thing. I feel like this is horrible framing. I'm sorry guys. Can we like talk for a minute about this and how it's only the top part of my head, but it's this full? I don't understand how this works. I don't need help in the comments. Just, okay, working. As I said earlier, there is something to be said about using familiar patterns, and I meant it. Knowing each step of the project and what is expected lets you settle down into sewing, much like you would settle into a comfy chair with a warm blanket and read that old familiar book that you've read a million times. There's nothing new, nothing exciting, just the same repetition that you have done many times before. So, I goofed. I had the thought that I could sew on the cuff and then like do everything, but the way that I sew on the cuff is I sew it on pretty much backwards, so that way when it gets folded over to the right side, I can like control the top stitch, because stitch in the ditch is not a thing for me. Anyway, going along, get to the serging, and I realized that when this folds over, we're gonna have an exposed seam. So now I get to unpick and switch that and take care of that. So that's our next step. I goofed. Good thing it's an easy fix. Okay, so the shirt just needs buttons and buttonholes. That is my least favorite part, so I'm gonna procrastinate by starting the skirt. The plan is to do like a simple walking skirt. I have done a video on this before, which I will link. We're just gonna follow that process. I should be able to like bang this out today. It'd be really cool if I could get the shirt and skirt done today. I doubt it. I'm gonna procrastinate those buttonholes longer than how long it'll take me to make the skirt. I know myself too well. Okay, let's get going. The skirt is one that I have also made on my channel before. Remember last year when I was on my Edwardian kick? But alas, it has been a year since I have attempted to make an Edwardian skirt, and I don't quite know the geometry that goes into a walking skirt like I do for a button-up, so I just hoped for the best, if I'm being honest. And for the most part, it was going well until I tried it on, and my tailor brain was screaming at me that everything was horribly wrong. But according to the bunching, I just needed to shape the waist and everything would be fine. Everything was not fine after shaping the waist. So I don't know why I did this to myself. I have a pattern for a walking skirt that fits me really well. I used it for the Elsa ball gown. Why didn't I think about using it for this? I mean, it just means that I've got to find it. How far back is it? That's it. So what really needs to happen is I need to find the front and the back gore. This looks really curved. What is this piece? That's a sleeve. Why is there a sleeve pattern in this? In the front. Okay, cool. This'll do. I'll get a copyright strike, but that's okay. No, it's not. I'll stop singing. Okay, so this right here is the entire reason how come I could not get this skirt to fit. So I have another yard of this, where it is, which is right here. So I'm going to recut this panel and then shape this one right there to fit, and then we'll be able to sew this thing together. Making progress. I might need to watch the movie again to get the songs out of my head. We shall see. As creative as I am, and as willing as I am to just go and make the thing, there's a lot to be said about not reinventing the wheel. Using a pattern is not cheating. It's just good time management. And with the changes made, the skirt went together like a dream. It was almost as if I had dreamed this dream before. Look at this! It fits so well now. Whew, okay. I'm not gonna finish it right now because I've got other things to do, but I'm really proud of it. I know you, I sewed you one. No, let's stop. I finished the skirt with a zipper because what is history bounding if not the use of historical techniques and shapes with modern closures? Then it was time to finally tackle the buttons and buttonholes, which I do completely by machine, like the heathen that I am. No, I have not broken a needle doing this. Yes, I was professionally trained to do it this way. No, I will never put on shirt buttons by hand ever again. The last part of the outfit is the stays. This is where I chose to go the most historically accurate route. Kind of. Contradictions. Again, I'm full of them. It's just the name of the game. Oh, that is like super close. It fits, guys. I mean, I'll definitely be laced down, but I can get this closed. So I'm getting increasingly worried about like the overall cost of these stays because I don't have a big budget and it's hard for me to justify spending $50 or so on synthetic whalebone because I don't actually know how much I need, and I'd rather overshoot than undershoot, and shipping times when I'm working with a deadline, it's a whole thing. With that being said, I think I have landed on the idea of cording the stays and using the zip ties that I have that I typically use as boning to reinforce the, what's the word? I know the word. I just said it. I just texted it to my friend Amy. To reinforce the eyelets. Just having some level of like reinforcement there to like, they're not really supposed to suck you in, but just to help control everything would be nice. So today's goal is to get all of the cording done. I feel like that's a very ambitious goal, but also a very doable one. And today's Friday. I don't know if I'm going to work this weekend. I guess we'll see. Let's get cording. The stays that I chose came from Janet Arnold's Patterns of Fashion #5. Is that a surprise? I mean, it's kind of the best resources for historical stays. As far as I know, cording is not a technique that was used on stays until the beginning of the 1800s, and the ones that I am working on come from the mid-1700s. So, we're being anachronistic, but doesn't matter? No, I don't think so. Decisions have been made. So I was originally thinking, well, I don't want to bone the entirety of these stays because I don't want to like invest that much in boning. So then I started cording, and now I don't want to invest in the time of cording, and the price of boning is now significantly less important than the time I would have spent on cording. So I have all my boning channels drawn out. and I'm going to sew them in. I'm going to sew the canvas layer to some muslin, and then I will wrap the velvet around that. I think that's the most equitable way to do it. Part of choosing your own creative adventure is being realistic with yourself, your time, and your budget. The further I went along in the project, the more that I realized time was the more valuable asset here. But even with feeling pressed for time, I knew that there were details that I wanted, like the reinforced seams on the stays to break up the velvet pattern, and the binding to be done by hand. Other details like eyelets, not so important. Side note, the lacing strip technique is both fast, cheap, and highly effective. It lets you decide how to lace it differently every time. It's genius. 10 out of 10, would recommend for everyone. I just wanted to talk about the fit of these stays real quick. Everything up here fits really nicely, but because I have such a high hip line that this needs to be 1 inch to 2 inches longer because my belly button's right here. So that would make it more comfortable. If I ever remake these in the future, I'm gonna make that adjustment. At the end of it all, the time was well spent. The familiar patterns were a wonderful comfort, and now I have something that I can put into the world to try to further enrich it, even if I am directly copying a design from the Disney Vault. So, final thoughts. The stays need to be 1 inch longer on the bottom center front, and then they would be the most comfiest thing ever. So I might remake these in the future, probably not with velvet. Because that's just a little bit insane. Don't want to repeat that process. But the shirt and the skirt are going to make it into my everyday wardrobe. I am honestly excited to have them in my everyday wardrobe. I think they'll mix and mingle with my other pieces really well and give me good neutrals because I don't tend to go for neutral colors. Is that a personal flaw? Maybe. Okay. This was a really fun project, and I really enjoyed kind of just mashing everything together and just playing with different time periods to create a silhouette inspired by a Disney character, because what else are you gonna do when you have a YouTube channel and are looking for content ideas? I don't know. If you really liked this, let me know down in the comments. I might have a couple others planned. And if you follow me on Instagram, you might see what I have planned and am working on, because I seem to be posting every day there now. Didn't plan that, just kind of sort of happened. Anyway, real-time updates are on Instagram. Otherwise, you can stay tuned for a new video, which comes out every Monday, and then sometimes we do Project E catch-up lives on Thursday. Well, most of the time, if we're being honest. Most of the time.